Hey Kyle, Querec here, and today we're traveling all the way to Brazil. We're going to interview a composer, educator, and performer. Her name is Heather Dea Jennings, and I wish I had her as a teacher when I was in music school. And that's today, here on Music Minded. Come on. All right, Heather, question number one. Do you remember the moment that you discovered music or music discovered you? Was it a sibling? Was it a friend? Was it an artist, an instrument? Can you take us to that?
Oh, wow. I don't remember a moment without music, actually.
Good answer.
Ever since I was a baby, my mom has a memory of when I was 4. Apparently, I walked up to a piano and, like the piano's at my forehead, and I'm like reaching up, playing it. And she was like, "Oh, wow, that sounds really good." and I used to spend hours in my grandparents had a bedroom for their grandkids down in Denver, where I grew up in Colorado, and so I grew up in the mountains, and we would go visit my grandparents all the time, and I would just spend hours and hours and hours playing on this little toy piano, those little clink clink clinks.
Yeah.
And a little, like, it wasn't exactly a toy, but a tiny little electric organ, like a foot wide or something, 2 feet wide. And I would just spend hours.
Do you remember the moment was there a moment, I should say, that you decided, I have to do this for the rest of my life and I'm going to fight for it? Do you remember that moment as a teenager in college, as a 7-year-old? Was there a moment that you said, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life?
Oh, I mean, it's just it was so present and sort of embedded in every atom of my body that I'm not sure I remember. I do remember when I was 9, I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Okay.
I actually, someone was giving away a pony, and so my mom got it for me for my birthday, my 9th birthday.
Oh.
And so that was like, I was like, oh, I love horses and I want to be a veterinarian. And it was like lasted 6 months, and then I went back to music, So really, I can't pinpoint a time where I said, this is what I'm going to do. It was like music came to me and said, this is what you're going to do. And
Right.
It was really always like that for me.
Awesome. This question I enjoy too. What was your first great gig? And I always want to be careful when I present that question, because it doesn't have to be for a lot of money. It doesn't have to be with Barbra Streisand or Miles Davis. It's something where you just kind of felt, I can't believe I'm doing this. It could be teaching, it could be playing a gig, it could be recording, it could be in your room with a friend just playing James Taylor. Was there a moment that you realized, I'm a working musician and I'm doing this?
When I was in high school, I used to work at an Italian restaurant called Reggie's. They had great pizza, and I missed that pizza. And Reggie was an amazing jazz player. He played piano and sang, and like every night, like Thursday through Sunday, he would always open with Satin Doll.
Yeah.
And one day I said, I said, hey, I know that you guys invite musicians sometimes. Can I come and play?
Good for
And
you.
I was playing sax and singing, and so I played smooth operator. I sang and played the sax, and it was terrible, really, because I was off pitch and like I would come in late, but I was like,
How old were you?
I think I was 16, maybe 17.
What a great thing, though, that you picked such a great artist and such a great tune.
Oh, so great. I love that song to this day. I never get sick of it.
I think she's one of the most original artists that have ever existed. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No one like her. So when you were 16 at an Italian restaurant, you felt like, well, Billy Joel said, they sit at the bar and put bread in my jar and say, man, what are you doing here? He said the greatest moment was before he was famous.
Amazing.
It's when he like played at a pub, had a great time, everyone's happy, and someone hands him a check, and whether it was for $50 or 500 or 5,000, he couldn't believe that someone was going to pay him to have that much fun.
Right. Yeah.
So, oh, that's a great story. Now we go to the flip side. You got to give me a hell gig.
I can only give one.
Uh, that's, you know what? I don't know. I think this might be
Everyone has a bunch.
I know. I think. What is this? Our 16th or 17th episode in interviewing. That's the best response. No, because there isn't one. There's like
There's like,
471. But
yeah.
give me
I'll
one of
I'll
the
I'll
many.
give two quick ones.
Yes.
So one of them, I had this church gig where during my master's I got paid to help out, make the choir a little more, just round out the choir, help with pitch and stuff like that. And I had a solo that I said, hey, I want to sing a solo. And I was working on my voice, singing more classical music, and they gave me this gig, and I was so excited, and I practiced, and I thought I sounded good, and my mom was like, oh my God, you have that voice, I didn't know that, and
Right. Yeah.
it was like, my mom was visiting, and I go out there, I get into the church, and I get stage fright. And
Oh,
the piece is like, big voice, and and I go,
yeah. Oh, it's not because you're air. When you're nervous, the air. That's
Yeah.
one thing about being a player. You can be shaken and still play.
Oh
It's
yeah.
hard to deal with that when you're singing, no doubt.
Yeah. Oh no, I was so, and I heard the recording and I was like, oh, that's just so awful. But
Oh,
really, I couldn't have done it in a better place. Everybody's so loving and so like, they were like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Or they didn't say anything and just gave me a hug and said, great job. It was like, it was a good place to mess up.
that's a great story. Now you said you had a second story. I love that story.
Yeah.
What was your second one?
So I used to play in a chamber orchestra, I played flute, and we went to a city. This is already when I'm in Brazil. We went to a city into the interior of the state of Alagoas, and I won't name the city to not
Sure.
um,
Yeah, same positive.
because the mayor of this city, so she hired our orchestra to play at this event of like 400 people, and we were the dinner entertainment, and we were like not having it. So first of all, they had us come in through the servants quarters, and we were
Uh,
like, hey, we are not servants. We're not just entertainment. So we're already upset, and they talked the whole
uh,
time. I mean, it was like, I'm playing and I'm like, play, focus, you can do this. And we're like, never again, so
yeah.
that was frustrating.
All right, now this is probably the worst question I could ever ask, but I have to because I love musicians that have been working for 10 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years. They just have a perspective that it's just interesting.
Mhm.
Just in general, just being able to survive in this landscape. What do you think the future holds for music? Whether that's in a technological way, whether it's in a spiritual way, musical way, take it.
Okay. I teach electronic music. I'm the electronic music and composition professor in my university. And
Awesome.
I always, like I show them how robots are taking over, blah, 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 and they're all like, oh no, this is terrible. And I say, but the truth is, robots can become totally sentient. They can take over, they can like technically, and even they can even, get the swing of it and everything, but they're never going to take over because we have a drive. We have such a drive that we want to play music. They could play music all day long, but we're still going to want to play.
I love that.
It's going to be something we want to do. And so for me, that's one of that's just the future. Is that I think that music makes us human more than almost anything.
This is probably my favorite question. What would you say in today's landscape with the streaming and just, how am I going to make a living? 22-year-old Heather coming out of school, would you do anything differently or how would you attack being a pro today?
Oh, wow. I had Walter Beasley for a
Yeah.
professional music class. And I remember we did these, he would make us do these practice interviews in front of the video, which was always very difficult for me, but very cool.
Very cool.
Um, and just like all about like what they do to sell and how little a musician makes on a single for the actual, like I don't know, at the time it was like 7 cents. And now I think it's like half a cent or something, just an insanely small amount. So we have to fully redo our vision of how to make a living doing this thing we love, doing this thing, just because it's such a basic human need doesn't mean we shouldn't like be able to make a living from it. So
Sure.
I think one thing that might help, I'm a very big fan of a universal basic income.
Okay.
And so I feel this would be a piece of the puzzle, because
Wonderful.
it would allow people not to starve at least, and be able
Right.
to fulfill that drive, that they have. Of course, I went the academic route, and
Sure. Thank
it's
God.
been, yeah, oh no, it's absolutely been just a saving grace, and I'm really grateful for that. My students ask me this too. It's a difficult
I
question.
must
It's
be,
like, Professor, what do we do?
oh, I would love to hear their, I mean, I'm sure it's a question, where's music? But I would love to hear a 20-year-old, like their perspective now. I can't imagine, honestly.
No, absolutely. And they, most of them are going, but they do teach private lessons. And I tell them, that there used to be this, this thing, oh no, you can't learn music online. That's impossible, and then the pandemic threw us out there and we had to, we were
Sure.
forced to. I mean, it was just awful. The learning curve, of my first semester, forced to teach everything online. And so, I said to them, there are so many opportunities now. And it's not just in Brazil, there are these places online, you can get paid in dollars, and,
Yeah.
you're not going to earn a huge amount.
Right. I
But
think musicians and artists, you spend so much time trying to get better and better at your craft and
mhm,
sharing it, and then you just the part that has to figure out a way to market. We almost expect someone else to take care of that, and the cold hard truth is they're not going to take care of it. You have to
no,
include that
you
in
have to do it.
three favorite composers in general, and then three favorite pop rock bands artists.
Okay. Well, Laurie Anderson will be
There
at the
you go.
top. Difficult. This is difficult.
I know.
John Coltrane, absolutely. I mean, just like one of my biggest influences.
Laurie Anderson and John Coltrane. You have a point. That's awesome.
Philip Glass,
Okay.
really a
Um,
lot of influence. John Cage.
yeah. Okay. I see where you're going.
So difficult. Really, like I have this list. I remember back in the old days of MySpace, I had a list like 50 composers. My dad,
Oh,
he plays Americana and kind of Irish influenced music, and he's just amazing. And he's, still just puts out so much music. And so that's really amazing.
oh, that's
Um,
awesome. What about,
yeah,
do you have any, what's your classical composer? Give me one or two that you just love. I know Philip Glass, but you know what I mean.
yeah,
Kind of like the,
yeah. Kaya Saariaho.
where's she from?
She is a Finnish composer, and it's great because um, she's actually very very well known. But what's I love about her is that she's a woman composer who's making it in this
Yeah.
day, and that's not always easy. Um, there's another composer I really like. Her name is Pamela Z, and she works a lot um, in electronic music
Okay.
and kind of various sort of experimental things, and I really like her.
I want you to pick one of the three: food, sports, or travel. And this is kind of, I've asked this before to people that have said food, but this is, what it's like to either play a gig with someone, teach a great class, be in a recording session where there's a whole reason why you got involved in music in the first place. That
Mhm.
experience of dealing with people, creating something that didn't exist 20 minutes ago. After you do that, you're going to do this on three occasions. You're going to go out to dinner with those people, okay? And there's
Yeah,
just the afterglow and everything's great.
yeah.
What are the three dishes on those three Friday nights in a row you're going to have?
The one of them is Ethiopian food,
Okay.
and then the one after that is vegetarian Vietnamese food.
Oh, Vietnamese food's awesome.
Oh, so yummy. And the last one just might be New Mexican food, Southwestern New Mexican food.
Do you have a hot palate? Do you love the spice?
Yeah.
Are you one of those people that like it spicy, or you're like a
Oh,
super
that
fan?
definitely, no, super spicy.
Number nine. Number nine.
What can we plug? Where can we find you? What's Heather going to be? What have you just done? If there's something that you have just done, what are you doing? Why don't you listen to that?
So Tuesday night, I'm having a premiere of a piece for 2 saxophones and fixed media. And then, so you can find me on SoundCloud is where I'm the most, like I have my most pieces.
Mhm.
And I have I think it's Heather.Dea.Jennings.
You have such a gentle, sweet spirit, but you also have this fieriness about you. And it is that's why I would imagine your students.
It's all that spice.
Yeah, there it is. That's why
eat.
I would imagine that your students love you. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Because I think you're disciplined and you know what you're talking about, but you also have kind of this youthful kind of go and get it, which I'm sure they just adore.
well,
So,
I hope so. Yeah.
oh, that's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Heather, what a treat.
Oh
I
no,
mean,
it's wonderful. I just love the series that you're doing,
oh,
and
thank you.
I'm really grateful that you came and included me in this. I'm truly, truly grateful.
Oh,
It's wonderful to connect.
I agree. And that's the whole reason why we're doing it, putting music on the map. And with Heather Dea Jennings, thanks for
Woo!
joining us today, Heather. You're the
Thank you,
best.
Kyle.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Good
All
to
right.
see you too.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
You bet. What a fantastic interview with a wonderful person. You can tell she's a great teacher. I wish I had a teacher like that when I was at music school. You can tell that she's passionate, that she's kind, and that she's patient, and that she loves her students and helps them to create great music. So thank you for joining us today. My name's Kyle Querec. You've been watching Music